All right. Welcome back. Shalom, family, to the Kingdom of Israel. And we're still on Prophecy 2026. Today, we're going to focus on an empty soul, a life without true purpose, and looking at how much vanity can you take. So I'm going to go ahead and put it out there, off the rip, as we always do. This is the Kingdom of Israel. No association to the state of Israel, Israelis, and those that have taken on the impostorship of Jews. Right? We're talking about a true people and a real heritage. Also, we're not here to discuss anyone's religion. It's like I have to say this every single time I come on because I don't know how many of you, like this may be your first time coming into this room or hearing me speak, having these discussions. We're not going to talk about religion, Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism. All those things are made up. But we are going to focus on the biblical text. And we're going to show you how that text is related to this day and time within prophecy, who it applies to, how it's associated to us and people based on the things we do, how we function, as a society, world governments, mindsets. And we're going to look at how these writings within antiquity are still very relevant to this day. And the other question we'll look at is why, within the state of theology, seminary schools, and within the scope of religion, why they don't deal with this text. Although it's in the Bible, they skate around it, and they've actually come up with a totally separate narrative and or conversation. But we're going to focus on this from the standpoint of that allegory, which goes into a hidden meaning. Why is that important? Because the biblical text, first of all, it's written in a code. It was never meant for you or anyone to just, on its face, read it and understand it. If that was the case, it would not be recorded in the book to so much talk about a mystery, which means secret. The mystery of God, the secret of God. The mere fact that when Yeshua, the one entitled as Jesus, is expressing to his disciples, when they ask him, why do you keep talking in parables? Why don't you just use plain speak? He lets them know because what's being said is not for everyone to hear, but it is for certain people. It is for you. So that's the aim and or intent with these discussions. Thank you all for coming, into the live. You share the live, you repost the live. But that's the main point for these discussions. To bring out that hidden meaning. So for what you're reading, in this book, what you're reading in the Bible can be relevant to you in this day and time. Because too often, it's like the words don't mean anything. Folks are reading over it and they're not really able to make any association. So let's get off into it as we talk about the empty soul, a life without true purpose, and how much vanity can you take? I don't even know for a number of you, when you look into the world, if you truly understand how much vanity we are susceptible to, or if your eyes are just blind to it. But again, I have so many pages of precepts, about 7 once again. So I need to go ahead and get off into it. We're going to start off with Zephaniah. We're going to start off with Zechariah 2:1. He says, I lifted up mine eyes again. And remember, this is all about the empty soul, a life without true purpose. How much vanity can you take? He said, I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. First of all, this is like a vision, right? He said, then said I, whither go thou? And he said unto me, to measure Jerusalem. Now, you all need to understand something. When it comes to Jerusalem, it's not necessarily looking at the sense or the scope that we understand it, because that new Jerusalem, it's going to be an exclusive place. Not everyone will be able to move in and move out of that exclusive place. So look, he said to measure Jerusalem, to see what it is, to see what is the breadth thereof and the length thereof. Getting it set up. When you measure it, that means you're preparing for the degree of construction that needs to take place. He said, and behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. There's going to be a multitude of men. There's going to be a caliber of life within this Jerusalem. But this context is not established for anybody and everybody to just walk in and walk out. You know, it will be exclusive. So look, real quick, we go to Luke 21 and 24, because right now, the concept, that region, that landmass, it's overrun with corruption. And the land has to be purified. Too much devastation, has happened. But within Luke 21:24, he says, and we're going to come back to Zechariah 2. We're going to pick up where we left off from number 4. We'll go to number 5. But I wanted to interject this as I was expressing that the New Jerusalem will be an exclusive place. And the Jerusalem that's in position and or in play right now, it's being overrun by other nationalities and other people, for one, are parading around to be the true people of the heritage, and they're not. Luke 21:24, he says, they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations, speaking about the genuine people of the heritage. For their disobedience, they were moved off of their homeland. They were led away captive, and they were spread out into the diaspora. And to this day, they're hidden. To this day, they've lost their name. They've lost their titles. They have lost their heritage. We have lost our heritage. We have been taken about from one captivity to another captivity. We are spread about within one nation to the other, and we're hidden. We're mixed within these nations. He says, led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. So right now, the land is filled with the Gentiles, even Netanyahu and the puppeteers and those that pretend, to be Jews. These are Gentiles. The prophecy states that the land will be trodden down with Gentiles. It said, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Well, what is that? Has it happened already? Or is prophecy still waiting to be fulfilled? As Isaiah said in 8:20, if they're not talking according to the testimony being the prophecy or to the law, he said, ain't no truth in them. Why are you listening to them? So we're focused. I am focused. No different than my ancestors within antiquity were focused on what did the prophets and Moses say. So here, the land is going to be trodden down with Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. What does that mean? The time of the Gentiles being fulfilled means the eradication of corruption and wickedness in the world has to come to an abrupt stop, an abrupt end. So right now, the world is still being run by the heathen. That's why everything is in decline. So the fulfillment of the Gentiles, it has not yet happened. So Netanyahu and all of his cronies and all of the imposters over there, no matter what they tell you out of their lying mouth, they're not the people. They can't be the people. Otherwise, this prophecy is a lie. And Isaiah is a liar. And all the other prophets, they're liars. So go back to Zechariah 2:5. He says, for I say the Lord, will be unto her a wall of fire round about. Now remember, the man went out with the measuring line. And we're talking about one aspect of Jerusalem, and then there's the New Jerusalem, this other aspect where it's going to be exclusive. He said, for I say the Lord will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. Meaning, like the sense of protection. You won't have these like big old walls and fences and things of that nature. It's saying the Lord is going to be that protection round and about, meaning the standards that we have set up will protect us from any invasion, meaning wickedness will not be a threat anymore because it will be demolished. He says, ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of heaven, saith the Lord. This is where those that have been hidden, those that have been scattered, this place that's going to be exclusive and or protected, it's for those that have suffered so much for ages and generations. I know this is hard to accept, to understand, to hear for a number of people, but this is prophecy. And when you look at what's transpiring, what's happening in the world today, folks are understanding something has to change. But from what direction are you looking for that change? What's your source in understanding how that change is going to come? Is it through democracy? Corporatocracy? What form or measure is your change coming from? I'm going to follow within the line of prophecy. He says, I have spread you abroad as the four winds of heaven, saith the Lord. So just as a people have been spread abroad, he's saying that same people is going to be gathered. Isaiah 11:11. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day, meaning has not happened yet. It shall come to pass in that day, the Lord shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people, because we've been destroyed, scattered abroad, splintered, without strength, vulnerable, afflicted. In all the places that we've been, in all the places that we are to this day. He says, his hand shall be set again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people. Didn't say everybody. And this is a problem within religion, because God has chosen the people, the folks within religion or those of the heathen and other nations are mad. So they created another God. They created another narrative and said, no, we don't like what it's actually saying. So we got to come up with something that says God coming for everybody. And then they called it Christianity. So some of you are mad right now, and for that reason you're leaving. Then it's meant for you to leave, because the Lord has expressed his people. They're going to hear his voice, and they're not going to follow another. So he's going to recover his people a second time. He said, which are left from, because we're scattered abroad, and this is just an example to sample, Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, Cush, Elam. It's basically saying we're all over the world. So today it would be America, Canada, Egypt, China, Russia, Japan, Philippines, Vietnam, all over the world. We've been scattered. He says, and from the islands of the sea. Remember that part, you all. And from the islands of the sea. Just stick a pin in that part. We're going to come back, to that. As we're talking about an empty soul, a life without true purpose. Looking at how much vanity can you actually take, or do you even see it as vanity? Thank you all for coming into the live. I say y'all tap the screen. That part don't cost nothing. That's how you show your support for the live. Share the live and repost the live. Thank you all. Here he says, number 12, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations. Remember that part. Because I said with New Jerusalem, it's going to be exclusive. If you're not of that people, that's one place you will not be able to go in and out of. And this is how, again, for those that are parading around, and most modernly what they call the Middle East today, are not the people. They don't fit the scope of the prophecy. They do fit the scope of the deception, though, and we'll get to that. He says, he shall set up an ensign for the nations. Nations. Because that's going to tie into where in the religion they say, through Abraham, all nations are going to be blessed. So this is where they try to discount the fact that this thing is exclusive, and they created this narrative to say, that means everybody. Well, I'm going to show you. Based on how it was written, where nations is speaking about those that have been hidden and how they've come from all these different places. But Don't listen to me. Let me just explain what's written. Let me show you what's written and then point it out. Set up an ensign for the nations and assemble the outcast of Israel. Again, this has nothing to do with the Israeli. This has nothing to do with the state of Israel. All of that's preposterous. That came from someone's imagination. It is not real. He said, and gather together the dispersed of Judah. So here it's talking about that split, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Looking to get the outcasts from the northern kingdom and those that were dispersed from Judah. From the four corners of the earth, you all, there's no place that we have not touched or have not been pushed into, but rest assured, the mighty hand of God, of the Lord, of the law, of prophecy is going to pull these people back together again, a mighty nation to rule the world in righteousness. Y'all hang in there with me. Let me show you what they intentionally not wanted to show because they don't want to see us in power. They don't want to see us in position, but it's inevitable, unstoppable. It's going to be, and let me show you how. The true stewards of the earth are not in their seat, one to rule in righteousness, and this is why we see the world in decline. But let me continue to focus on what's written and provide clarity for what's here. He says, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The most concentrated body of Judah is right here in America. He's been identified, as a term most notably known as a Negro. Right? We look at Zechariah 2:7. He said, deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwell with the daughter of Babylon. Well, let's look at this. First of all, he's going to gather us the second time from all these places. But right here, he said, deliver thyself. What are we saying? Well, you will not be gathered. You will not be a part of the gathering if your mind is still locked into the corruption of this world. If you haven't fixed your mind, if you've not positioned yourself to rehearse the righteous acts, then when the gathering comes, you're not going to make the cut. So when he says, deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwell with the daughter of Babylon. The daughter of Babylon is looking at that mystery Babylon. So there, it's not talking about a Babylon of antiquity, because a mystery Babylon means it's secret. Everyone knows where Babylon is based on antiquity in, the country of Iraq. It ain't talking about that. But the daughter of Babylon is explaining this is, that thing that is the resemblance, meaning the power, the stature. We're dwelling along with the daughter of Babylon. We're dwelling within a powerful nation of heathens. But he say, deliver yourself. And the way we deliver ourselves, we got to pull back on all of the misguidance that they've infected us with. We have to recondition our mind. That's how we deliver thyself, to be prepared for when a gathering come, we can just move right into it. But a number of you, that is unfathomable. So you will receive the reward of the wicked. Thank you all for coming into the live. Psalms 55 and 21, it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, because we're dwelling within the midst of the daughter of Babylon. And this is what we have to deliver ourselves from. But the words of their mouth are smooth as butter. The things that they tell us to focus on, the education that they've given us, the persuasion that they use against our best interests. The pragmatism, you've heard me use that term. The state of America within the art of pragmatism, telling us what's good is evil and what's evil is good. The words of his mouth smoother than butter, always making promises, never delivering. No, not one. He said, but war is in his heart. Always talking about we're going to do peace, but war is in his heart. You don't know who this is talking about? If you were in law enforcement, you would be able to say at this point, you fit the description. You don't know who this is talking about? He said, his words are softer than oil, yet they drawn swords. They're always acting like they're trying to do something for you. But when it comes down to it, all they want is you to serve them. They want you in captivity. They want your resource. We call them the colonizers, the settlers. The sad part is they're the smallest of all the heathens. That's the sad part. But they have the most dominance at this point in time. What do I mean they're the smallest of all the heathens? Because you have melanated and or dark nations that are heathens too. And those nations are way more, than this small population of Europeans. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But for a number of you just think all melanated people are the same, but we're not. Job 35 and 38. He say, thy wickedness may hurt a man as thou art. For all that are function within the mind of the daughter of Babylon, that state of wickedness is only going to bring about destruction. This is what he means when he says, deliver thyself. Like, we need to be able to identify what is wickedness. Because I don't think we've really scrutinized it. Like, I don't think we've really scrutinized what oppression is. How it has 4 levels and 5 phases. To even understand psychologically what's happening to us. He says, thy wickedness may hurt a man as thou art, and thy righteousness shall profit the Son of Man. Turning to righteousness is what's going to profit us when it comes to what it means to be delivered. He says, by reason of the multitude of oppression, they make the oppressed to cry. Do you hear it? Do you see it in real time in this world today? And why is not your religious organization explaining these things to you? Why do they skate around these verses or hide these verses or do not have in-depth discussions around these concepts of behavior? He said, by reason of the multitude of oppressions. Some of you want to act like oppression doesn't exist. They make the oppressed to cry. You look at the state of this government and world governments and how they've oppressed people and how everybody's crying out for justice. Y'all pay attention to the prophets, to the prophecy and how they forecast what's transpiring today. The only reason we don't have change is because no one has changed their mind. How can you want change but not become the change that you want to see? He said they cry out by reason of the arm of the mighty. The arm of the mighty would be those heads of state, those governments. But there's one government in particular that's controlling them all and have made it to where if you do not deal with their policy, their procedure, then they punish you with embargoes and sanctions. They call themselves a superpower. The Europeans of America. That's the arm of the mighty. The first hand to oppression. Zechariah 2:8. He said, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory, and glory is another word for fame. He says, after the glory have he sent me unto the nations, which spoiled you. Remember, I talked about that exclusive group of people that will be in a position and a place that other people will not have the privilege or benefit to move in and or out of. He's saying, after the glory, that fame, because this is going to be a miraculous, a marvelous thing to take place. Famous, known, renowned. This, we're talking about prophecy, you all. Whether you believe it or not. The state of understanding said, we must speak to the testimony, being the prophecy and the law. Otherwise, there's no light in you. There's no truth in you. You're just full of pragmatism. You're full of made up stuff. You're indoctrinated. You're enamored within the great war of ignorance. He says, sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. You all don't understand we've been spoiled. We can't distinguish the difference between wickedness and righteousness or righteousness and unrighteousness. We're spoiled. He said, for he that touch you, touch the apple of his eye, meaning they don't understand the damage they've done. They've touched God's people, the pristine heritage of God's people. He said, don't worry. He said, yeah, I allow for you to be afflicted, but I'm going to give it all back to you and more. So they've done this thing and they've gone beyond what was called to be done. But let's listen to what's being said. He said, for behold, I will shake my hand upon them. Oh, they're going to get it. He said, and they shall be spoiled to their servants. That means they're going to serve us. Oh, I know it's hard to see. It's hard to believe because they're so powerful. They're so mighty. They got all the weaponry and they got all the money and they got all the resources. But hang in there with me, y'all, and let me show you where this thing turns around. But the key to the benefit of it turning around is also how we turn our mind around. He said, I will shake my hand upon them, and he says, and they shall be spoiled to their servants, meaning all of their might and everything and how we've been the servants. We're going to be moved from the tail and we're going to be put back at the head. They shall be a spoil to their servants, because right now we're serving them. But just like they spoiled us, they're going to be a spoil to who they consider to call servants. He said, and ye shall know that the Lord have sent me. It's like that's one of the only ways that we'll be able to tell, because right now it's as if nobody can touch the superpower. Something phenomenal has to happen. Nobody's saying sit back and do nothing. What we're saying, the work that you have to do starts within changing your mind. That's how you deliver yourself, by identifying what wickedness is and refusing to participate. But a number of you love this corruption. You don't want it to stop. You want me to stop. Stop talking about it. Just let life go on. Why do you want this world to end so bad? This world must end, because this is not life. People are suffering. The world I'm talking about within righteousness, that's life, immortality, something to be disdained. This world is a representation of death, destruction, and it's all around us. So for those of you that want this to continue going, you deserve the reward of the wicked. Psalms 109 and 4. He says, for my love, they are my adversaries. Right? Like, because I'm telling you that the corruption must end, a number of you see me as an adversary. He said, but I give myself unto prayer. A number of you don't think there's any power centered around that. He says, and they have rewarded me evil for my good. You all have heard me talk about this over and over and over again. In this world, for all of the evil that you do, they reward you for evil. But if you start trying to focus on higher standards within morality and lifting yourself up, then you get punished. But if you agree with them in the state of corruption, then they allow you to flow through their society and their way of life, and they'll hold you up, as something to be praised and or sought after. And then when they get mad at you, they want to expose all of your wickedness. They want to embarrass you. He said, for they have rewarded me evil for good. He said, in hatred for my love. Hatred for my love. I'm going to tell you this. One thing about me, my people, we are a most hated people in the world. You look at the slew of lynchings that have transpired, rude suicides. You look at the young man Nolan hanging out with his white friends, and now it's a mystery. Everybody's trying to figure it out. We are a most hated people. And these things are written. It's a perpetual hatred that some have, and we're not understanding why, because we just can't fathom that type of evil. And because the institutions within education and or learning do not highlight these things or talk about these things, we've almost convinced ourselves that it's not real. That there's some good out there. How can there be good in a world of evil? There's no good in this world. The good comes after this world is diminished, ended. But for my good, they deliver me hatred. He says, set thou a wicked man over him. So you look at this when he talks about set thou a wicked man over him, right? To set thou a wicked man over him is saying in this world of corruption, in this world of wickedness, they're just wicked men that are in position and no place. And then it says, and let Satan stand at his right hand. This world, you all, it's not guided within righteousness and godly principles. This is the evil that has been spoken of and or noticed for ages and generations. But we want to try and think just because they give us money that makes it somewhat okay. It's not that bad. No, it's bad. It has never stopped being bad. And I don't care how much money you try to put on the table. I don't care what type of house or home that I may have or car that I may drive. This must end. So that righteousness can prevail. So that the new world, the new leaders, the new stewards of the world in righteousness can thrive. These Europeans ain't going to bring you no peace. They're not the stewards for this world in righteousness. If they were, there would be no global warming. There would be no dis-ease. We wouldn't have all of these problems in the world. Their God is that of wickedness. He said, when he shall be judged, number 7, let him be condemned. This world is going to be condemned because of the corruption. It has to happen. We can't have a world mixed with wickedness and righteousness. Like, as it says, you can't serve two masters. Serve means you can't do two things. Right now, most of us are centered around doing wickedness, and we just can't even fathom that we're engrossed in it like that. And we're like, oh, I'm doing some good. And I had to be honest with myself because I thought I was a good person. But as I started examining the standards of morality, principles, law, I realized, oh, I'm not as good as I thought. I didn't have a sense of standard. But when you start applying yourself to the standards, then you get to see how deep it is. Now you have something to measure it by, to even look at what changes you need to make. As it said, deliver thyself. I had to want to make that change. There was no church or no magic spell or nothing that would bring me to that point other than I had to decide to make that change. And that's what I'm telling with each and every one of you. When it says deliver thyself, you need to first identify something is wrong, and you have to commit first to yourself that you want to make this change. It ain't about Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism. It's about understanding how to move within a sense of righteousness, knowing that you live in a sense of unrighteousness, and making these changes within your lifestyle, within your mindset. That's the first step. Thank you all for coming into the live. He said, when he shall be judged, let him be condemned. Let his prayers become sin. I don't know if y'all understand what he's saying right there, because their God is not the God of righteousness. Their God is the God of wickedness. So therefore, whatever their prayers are, it's in transgression. And you hear folks saying all the time how they pray to God. You see entertainers and sports figures and, these folks getting these awards, and they come up on the stage and they say, I want to thank God. They're not talking about the God of righteousness. And their prayers are not prayers within the acceptance of righteousness. He says, let their prayers become sin, a transgression. I don't know if y'all understand what's being said, but I know how it can be hard because of the pollution or the static within religious institutions, how they've just made it so ambiguous to really understand, but that's intentional. Psalms 140 and 8. It says, grant not, O Lord, the desires of the wicked. Here we go. We're talking about it right now. Their desires of wicked and their desires of the righteous. Which one? What side are you on? Have you even identified that there are sides? Or do you think all of it is just mixed in together? Well, no, it's not all mixed in together. And by default, if that's your thought, you're on the side of the wicked. Because those who choose righteousness, it's a conscious decision. It's a hard walk. It's a lifestyle change. And Lord knows, a people that have been spoiled, or a people that live within an addicted lifestyle, they don't want to deal with no lifestyle change. Don't talk to them about removing the convenience that they're so used to. Leave me alone is what they say. I don't need your help. Okay. No problem. All I'm telling you to do, make a decision. Consciously choose righteousness, because by default, we have been born into the corruption. We have been trained and taught within their institutions. He says, grant not, O Lord, the desires of the wicked. Further not his wicked device. His wicked device, you all look at this world today. You all think this world is so great and is so much better. Everything in this world is wicked, even the devices, even the technology that I'm on today. Look at how they use it to infiltrate our lives, our privacy, and look at how they use it to manipulate our surroundings. Cameras everywhere, and every device that they have, it's for their wicked intention to continue pushing the world further into corruption, into oppression. They use technology as an instrument of oppression. Algorithms and manipulation, and trying to say that, there's free speech, and then they want to govern what you can say. He says, further not his wicked device, lest they exalt themselves. And that's what they've done. They've exalted themselves. We're so great. We're so mighty. And folks have been fooled by the guise of greatness. They really think these people are something. This is the greatest show on earth. It's the Wizard of Oz in real time. Number 9, it says, as for the head of those that compass me about, looking at a chosen people and how those that are meant to be servants are ruling over us, passing us about. We're the oppressed ones, and the wicked ones are ruling and looking to receive the benefits. He said, let the mischief of their own lips cover them, which basically it goes back to what I was saying. They will not survive because of all of the unrighteousness that they've done, which is recorded. That's going to be the condemnation for them. And all of their we're this, we're that, he says, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. And this is what we have against them. Oh, you may not be able to get the United Nations or, the World Court to do anything, but trust and believe. They're not going to get past the Almighty. And the people the Almighty put in position to deal with them. They won't know what to do with that wall of fire and or that celestial flesh. They won't understand it. This is where the weapon formed against you shall not prosper, but let me not get ahead of myself. He said, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. All the lies that they've told, this is what's going to be used against them when they're brought to their defeat. Isaiah 121, he said that princes are rebellious, talking about our people that should be standing in righteousness. You're so rebellious. And you want to hang out with them because it appears that they have it good and it appears that we have it so bad. So you want to disassociate yourself from your own heritage. And unfortunately, when I look at what happened to the young man, that was the first thing I saw. Unfortunately, some things can't be trusted. But they use this evil to make it as if it's so fair seeming. And it's not. But we're going to get there because everything that's happening today, it's written. We just haven't acknowledged it to then understand where righteousness is defined and how to align ourselves with it. Or even to be in a position to say, I have made a conscious decision. To hell with righteousness. He said, thy princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. They've sided with the Europeans in the world of evil. Everyone loved gifts. This is what I was talking about. They give us money. We get homes and cars. Remember Ecclesiastes 7:7? It said oppression should make you mad. It said, but the gift destroyed the heart. And where you heard me talking months ago about you got folks out here taking bribes because they make millions to billions of dollars. It's like, I ain't going to say nothing. Yes, sir. We're going to do exactly what you say. Oh, we should give our money to this group and to this cause. The gift have destroyed the heart. And we're trying to act as if the world is perfect just because we got money. He said, everyone loved gifts. The majority of you are taking the bribe. And for that, you don't see a problem. And for that, you want the evil to continue. Even if it means you suffer one more day. That's a horrible addiction, you all. Talked about that too. It's a different type of an addiction. But we have an addiction to lust. We have an addiction to wickedness. And once we identify with it, no different than any other addiction, then can we wean ourselves off of it? For those that are ready to commit to ending a life within wickedness. And I'm not talking about joining nobody's freaking religion. This conversation is not about Catholicism, Judaism, Christianity. This is about God's chosen people in righteousness. Oh, we're going to find it. We're going to see it. Let me just keep going. He said, everyone loved gifts and follow after rewards. They judge not the fatherless, meaning the world is not being judged according to upright standards. And this is why everybody's talking about so much injustice. The Supreme Court is flawed. The entire world is in a state of injustice. He said, neither do the cause for the widow come unto them. They don't care about nothing or nobody but themselves. And to satisfy the problem, they throw money at it. And then you have weak-minded individuals within my people that feel if they get enough money, then from that, they can solve whatever problem they need to solve. These are people within a melanated tone of skin with the mind of a white man. They've lost their mind, literally. Thank you all for coming into the live. Psalms 109:8, he says, let his days be few. And this is what I'm telling you. Their end is at hand. Oh, they just celebrated 250 years of oppression for us, but they're not going to make it to 300. I'm going to stand on that. He says, and let another take his office, meaning let the true stewards of the world come into position and or place because they've ruined the world. Because of them, the water is polluted. The air is thin, polluted. The food is polluted. Everything is in a state of corruption and decline. Do you not see it? Do you not continue hearing them saying, oh, we're working on it. We're going to fix it. How long does it take? It shouldn't take 100 years. It shouldn't take 200 years. You need to know when you're being played. They can't fix it. They're just robbing, they're stealing, they're lying, they're cheating. They're just trying to take it for all that they can take it. Oh, but don't worry. Oh, wait till I get to the part where they're going to have to give it all back. Oh, that's the part. Y'all keep your reparations. I got something better that's coming. We're getting it all back. All of it. The entire world. That's the reparation. A change of rulership. Putting the true stewards back into position and or place so that we can move the world in a state of peace and righteousness. The way it's meant to be. And why are you mad about that? See, whenever we start talking about a dark-skinned people ruling the world, they say, oh, that's evil. Oh, that's the dark age. But you look at them in position and or place for the world, it ain't been right. It's not going to be right. It's not within their makeup to do right. Psalm 140:10, he says, let burning coal fall upon them. So why are you all mad when it talks about ending wickedness and the people that uphold it? He said, let them be cast into fire. These people are going to be destroyed. This world is going to be destroyed. And for some of you, you say, oh, man, y'all been saying that forever. Well, I do tell you this. If you're paying attention, you must understand this can't continue. It's not sustainable. I don't know what world you're living in, but if you're paying attention, for the way things are set up and for what's going on, it's not sustainable. How much more pollution do you think you can take? How much more corruption in the food do you think you can take? As I asked the question, How much vanity can you take? Because that's all we are faced with in this world today. Vanity. Empty souls. People that have a life without a true purpose. Getting up, going to work every day, looking to retire. That's a life without true purpose. He says, let them be cast into the fire, into deep pits, that they rise not up again. That's all I'm talking about. Put an end to this. God don't bless America. God just be done with it. You all are talking about a new world order. The new world order is in righteousness. Not another European nation and or head of state taking over. I don't give a damn about your money, their money. It don't mean nothing to me. Our focus should be centered on our standards within morality, principles, coming back to a higher sense of moral, changing our mind, identifying what are the elements to righteousness. Oh, we say the word like we say oppression. But for some of you, you never knew oppression had 4 levels and 5 phases. But we talked about it. So now we can understand how it's associated to corruption and wickedness. Same thing with righteousness. We now have to scrutinize it to understand what the elements are. That we know how to guide our life. That we can save ourselves. Zechariah 2:10, he says, sing and rejoice, because when they fall and it's the end of wickedness, we can sing and we can rejoice. But until then, there's nothing to celebrate. In the sense of a 4th of July, a Christmas, or New Year's, none of their celebrations are centered around the upliftment of an oppressed people. And every one of their celebrations, it costs you more. And some people are even losing their life. How many people lost their life in the past celebration of what they call a Day of Independence? Got you all sucked into a dream of 250 years. It's been 250 years of evil, you all. Nothing good has come out of the 250 years. Nothing. Somebody may want to try and find one thing, but even that one thing is tainted because we live in a world of wickedness. You can't bring something good out of something evil. It must be stopped. Then he says, sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, meaning, O daughter of excellence, meaning the people that are now going to be put in position and or place to set the world aright. It's so hard for a number of you to understand what's being prophesied and or expressed right here, but it's inevitable. He said, lo, I come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith the Lord, meaning righteousness will be our standard. It will be our law. It will be our policy, our procedure. It will be the makeup of our statute. Does anybody know what the makeup of their statutes are? Ooh, I can't wait for you to look into it. But in the end, it's all centered around injustice. You can look at it, you can see it. You know, if you're in America, that there's more than one system in place for justice. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Number 11, he says, and many nations shall be joined to her. And many nations shall be joined to the Lord. Put a pin in that word nations, because there again, like I said, I'm going to show you where, for what we had talked about in Isaiah 11 and 12, where he set up the ensign for the nations. And he said he was going to gather all of his people, and how he talked about they were spread out. So here again, he says, and many nations shall be joined to the Lord. I want to focus on this because I'm getting ready to show you where that nation is not what the religions have taught. That, oh, through Abraham's seed, all nations are going to be blessed, and that means everybody. So Jesus is coming for everybody. Y'all, that's a lie. I'm going to show you how. Because nations does have an S on it, and it does mean more, but I want to show you how that's based on what's written, how it's tied to this same one seed and the people we're talking about. And because they have been spread abroad throughout many other nations, these are the nations that it's talking about. But don't listen to me. Let's look at what's written. Let's look at how it's masterfully laid out, and how, because within the religion, within your theology, within your seminary schools, they don't want you to understand this because they have another message for you. And it's centered around deception. But listen, let me let the word speak, right? And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day. They say that's everybody, all the heathens and everybody. God opened the door up now, and he don't have a chosen people no more. But let's look. And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day. Hadn't happened yet. And shall be my people. See, they're trying to break their way into being of the chosen people, the stewards of the world, to rule in righteousness, to establish a government different than the governments of today, a new world order. He says, and I will dwell in the midst of thee. Remember that line he said earlier that he was going to measure? And it said that the Lord would be the wall around that city, the protection for that people. He said, I will dwell in the midst of thee. He said, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts have sent me unto thee. Now let's get to this nations part. Because I done told you. As it even said in Isaiah 11 and 12. Those nations were centered around the people that were scattered abroad, and it listed, the different countries that they were sent to. And he said he was going to send an ensign, and he was going to gather Israel, and he was going to gather Judah from the four corners of the earth. He was going to get them from the places that they were dispersed into. Thank you all for coming into the live. Genesis 35 and 10. This is where we get into it. We're going to solve this right here. No more lies, no more confusion. Because within their theology, their seminary schools, they want you to believe, oh, all people are going to be blessed through the seed, or all nations are going to be blessed, through Abraham. And right here, it just said nations are going to be joined with him in that day. See, that's everybody. Look at this. Genesis 35 and 10. And God said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Y'all pay attention. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob. Y'all pay attention. He said, but Israel shall be thy name. And we ain't talking about Netanyahu and the fake folks over there in what they call the state of Israel. Okay? All of that is, someone's creative imagination. And again, they're just using that, to benefit themselves in this day and time. It's all a part of the deception. Right? But Israel is a real people. Right? And y'all forgive me because I'm only known to speak English. I know that's not the native tongue, but even that has been lost, at this point, in time. So we're doing what we do in the tongue that we speak. And it has been purported that this is acceptable. Not based on me, but based on how the Lord has said, I'm going to reach you wherever you are, whatever language you speak. Why? Because we're all over the place. Everybody don't know English. Everybody don't know, Russian and, all these other languages. So we're being reached in the language that we speak. But anyway, he said, Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. Here's the key part. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty. He said, be fruitful and multiply. He said, a nation, because that's where they want to stop. Israel is just a nation. It's just one. But you keep reading it. Here it is. He said, a nation and a company of nations shall be of thee. Kings shall come out of thy loins. So here, when it says the nations in Isaiah 11 and Isaiah 11 and 12, it's the same thing in Zechariah 11 when he says many nations shall be joined with the Lord in that day. The nations are tied to what it says in Genesis 35 and 10, where it's a company of nations. He told them, be fruitful and multiply. That didn't include all the other heathen and all the other people. This is talking about the chosen people of God. Oh, but they refute that within the theology, within the seminary schools, because they want to tell lies. They want to promote their deception. God coming back for everybody. All nations are going to be blessed through the seed of Abraham. It's here now. Oh, I ain't done yet. I got one more for you. If that one wasn't enough to explain that the nations, that the company of nations, that the nations that's going to be blessed through the seed of Abraham is talking about those that are coming through the line of Jacob. And that children of Israel, not talking about Netanyahu and what they've created over there in what they call the Middle East and the state of Israel. We all know that's not legit. Right? He says in Genesis 17 and 16, if this don't help you, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just showing you where it is for those that have wondered and tried to understand. How do you articulate what's meant when it's talked about Abraham and it says through his seed, nations will be blessed. So I've just showed you in Genesis 35 and 11, those nations that are going to be blessed is coming from Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. When he told him, be fruitful and multiply, he would be a part of a nation, and a company of nations shall come from him. Kings shall come out of his loins. So here, Genesis 17:16. He says, I will bless her, talking about Sarah, and give her a son also. She only had one son. Although Abraham had many children, and that's the other thing, how they try to draw the confusion centered around how the nations are going to be blessed, because although Abraham had 8 sons, most folks only know about 2, Ishmael and Isaac. Right? But right here, it says, I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. This is the only son Sarah had. He said, I will bless her and she shall be a mother of nations. It's got an S on it. It didn't say a mother of a nation. So if Isaac is the only son of Sarah through Abraham, where these other nations said to be coming from, other than what has already been prescribed to let us know that this would be a nation and a company of nations. For a number of you, you may not understand it, you may not get it. right? He said, but she shall be a mother of nations. She only had one son. Kings of people shall be of her. Because we've been spread abroad and put into all these places, we're coming up out of all the nations. This is the genius of the prophecy, the mindset, forecasting what's happening, and we're just now catching up to understanding what it is because we've been lied to all of our life. We've been deceived by their theology, the propaganda within their seminary schools, their institutions of education. It's led us astray. Even when you deal with Rebecca, one woman having twins, it was told to her, 2 nations are in thy womb. One was a standard for righteousness, the other one, the epitome of evil. I can't make it no more simpler than that for you. Psalms 140 and 11. I'm sorry, let me go back to Isaiah. Isaiah 1 and 7. Right? Because before that, we were looking at the end of this world in wickedness and coming into a world of righteousness, but we had to get off into understanding how, we would be gathered and how we would be a company of nations, and how this is going to be exclusive to getting back to the seat of stewardship, to rule the world in righteousness. I know right now people don't see us as too much or nothing. We're hated by all people. But there's something great about us. In all of our affliction, for all that spit on us, and for all that hate us and don't really care, salvation is coming through our people. I have to say it that bold. You can accept it, you can reject it. But that's not going to take away from the standard of righteousness. That's not going to take away from what's happening right now and how it has to turn around and who's going to be at the turning point. I know it's not in your sight and or vision right now to where you can actually sit down and watch it like a boxing match per se. But only if you're tapped into, as it says in Isaiah 8 and 20, to the law and to the testimony, testimony being the prophecy. He said, if they're not dealing with these things, it's because there's no light in them. So if you're not dealing with the prophecy, you can't see it. But it's all spelled out for us in these writings. What to expect, how to expect it. But he says, your country is desolate. The world is desolate because we're not in the position and or place to run it as it needs to be run, because we wanted to follow after them. And to this day, they have the standards of beauty. I mean, our women can't stop straightening their hair, can't stop putting blonde hair in and following their standards of beauty. And because we keep following after these people, that's to our detriment. So here he says, your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. He said, your land, strangers devour it in your presence. Y'all trying to act like you don't know? Even right here in America, it's a plagued thing as you're watching strangers, immigrants, in real time devour your land in your presence, and you're powerless. Can't do nothing about it. You begging for reparations. He said, in your presence, and it is desolate, as overthrown by strangers. Oh, and y'all still think these people are cool? Y'all still think they friends? In the writings, they are identified as the enemy. What's so beautiful about that, for them to be identified as the enemy, is like they understand and they know this because in their writings and in their law, they call us the enemy. Me, my people, right here in America. We're their number one threat. And you all are trying to love them. You all want to be around them. You all want to continue in their democracy. All of this is to your demise. They hold no bone about saying, again, it's on the record, more specifically within the agency of their law enforcement. Hoover, he stated they still uphold it to this very day. Although it was a standard before then, he was just bold enough to say it and have it recorded that the threat to national security is me, my people, talking about this and looking at having unity, looking to deal in righteousness. So for that, we're a threat. What is a threat but an enemy? But you all want to act like they didn't just say that, and we just need to go vote. Y'all crazy. You crazy. You can't deal with an enemy by voting. But that's the trick. That's the deception that they've used. That's a part of the gift. As he said, we keep accepting gifts. That's a part of the addiction. They keep feeding our lust. Psalms 140 and 11. And again, your Baptist preachers, your Catholic priests, your Methodist bishops, they're not going to read these verses to you. They're not going to talk to you about prophecy because it doesn't fit the lies of the religion. It doesn't promote a white Jesus coming back to hug and kiss on folks. This talks about a Jesus or a Savior coming back to rid the world of evil. That means Europeans are going to suffer because they're the cause of the evil in the world, as they are the stewards right now running and or pushing the world into the ground. Oh, some of you are so offended right now. Not all of them. Okay, whatever. Have it your way. Black folks are bad too. Okay, whatever. I get it. But we're not going to act like what's happening ain't happening. And we're not going to look at it and not understand who's behind it. I can accept the fact that my people are corrupt. I just read it. It said my people are rebellious. But guess what? They're going to pay for their rebellion. This is why I'm crying to you right now and saying, turn around, change your mind, walk away. He said, come out of her, my people, that you receive none of her plagues. The question is, are you his people? Are you that people? Because if you're not, I'm not talking to you. But I am using this platform to then say to my people, stop being like them. We're not them. We have a greater point and or mission to rule this world with substance, in righteousness. He said, let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Right now, the evil speaker is established in the earth. But in the world to come, there will be no evil speakers established in the earth. No more wicked rule. You all should be cheering. You should be on your feet in a standing ovation right now. But some of you, you're crying and you're in pain because you will not be able to feed your addiction. You will not be able to continue in your lust. So this conversation is horrible. This is a horror movie to you. He says, evil shall hurt the violent man to overthrow him. Oh, come on. Let me make this make sense to you. Let me start again, because the bishops and the pastors and the seminary schools, they don't teach you nothing. Some of you have read this verse before. You ain't never understood it. You just read over it. Come on, let me give it to you. He said, because we're talking about allegory, the hidden meaning. We're talking about parable. You can't get this if you try to read it literally. He said, let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Because right now, the wicked, they rule. So how, within their wickedness and their corruption, is it going to come to an end? There's another evil that's going to come and wipe them out, but it's for the good, in righteousness. The whole point of taking a life is evil. But that's what it's going to take to get rid of the evil. So even when it say, thou shalt not kill, and y'all say, but y'all talking about killing. When it say thou shalt not kill, it's talking about righteous. But when it come down to the evil, it has to be destroyed. So that's what he means when he say evil shall hurt the violent man to overthrow him. I don't know if you get it. If you get it, put a 1 in the chat. If you understand what I'm saying, put a 1 in the chat. Y'all help me out. Evil shall hurt the violent man to overthrow him, meaning a lot of life is going to be lost. And we know that's evil, but it must be done to establish righteousness. And then anyone that wants to go back to a standard of that life, you're going to be faced with that evil. But the beautiful thing is, according to what's written, we won't have to worry about that like that. He said, no, the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted. We are the afflicted. Maintaining our cause is in righteousness and eradicating the evil. Justice for us. And the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor. What are we talking about? What is the right of the poor? See, because right now we have 2 states of what the poor is. You got one that deals with the concept of what we consider to be a quality of life, but the other one is in mind. Your state of mind. And that's the point of my conversation, is saying we must change our mind. Our minds are starved because we feed off of the evil. He says, and the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor. The right of the poor is, as he said, the poor shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's those, when he say, deliver thyself. That's those that have decided to go against the odds, to wean themselves off of the unrighteousness, that addiction, change their mind to stand for the upliftment of themselves and their people in righteousness. That's the right of the poor, who has made a decision mentally to relieve themselves from that position. He says, surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. Looking at what we've went through, talking about the right of the poor, looking at how we've been afflicted, he says, surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. See, once we turn to the sense of what righteousness is, we'll give thanks to that standard because we're no longer afflicted. But until then, you don't have no idea what I'm talking about. And you sure can't see it from looking across the street. You got to cross the street and you got to come in the house. You have to make a decision. That's where it starts. Nobody's asking you to join anybody's religion. I'm asking you to join with your state of mind. Become the change that you want to see. Use a certain standard and or way of life to lift yourself up. This ain't no hocus pocus. Surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. And unto thy name is not talking about saying Yahweh or Jesus or El Shaddai. It's giving thanks to the concept in righteousness, which is associated. Because you don't get any righteousness just because you say Jesus. Just because you say, I believe in Jesus, that don't make you righteous. Look at the state of the church today. They beat drums and jump around and say they get the Holy Ghost every day, and it's a state of corruption. All the religion today, it don't work. So surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. The upright shall dwell in thy presence. That's what I'm talking about. Once you change your state of mind, you then are considered upright. You're now dwelling in the presence of that righteousness, or what you call a God, a Lord. God and Lord is what you serve. And today you're serving it based on the wickedness that we've been born into, or you're going to serve it by standing on the upheld and or upright principle. That you can be in the presence of greatness. Because right now we're in the presence of decadence. Zechariah 2:13, he says, be silent, O all flesh, right? Because I'm sitting up here telling you about righteousness and what it means. There's a slew of people out there that are murmuring, that are, in the chat, and they're mocking, and, that goes on. He's saying, be silent, O all flesh, before the Lord, for he is raised up out of his holy habitation. When righteousness comes into position and or play, all that mocking and all of them that are set for or are in love with this corruption, they're going to be shut up and shut out. No room for them. No air to breathe. That's what he means when he said, be silent. Oh, all flesh, like all of you that can't get with the intent of righteousness, shut up. Why are you talking? Why are you mocking? In fact, your end is to perish. You are going to be faced with a great evil, a necessary evil. Deuteronomy 33:7. He says, and this is the blessing of Judah. And he said, hear. He says, hear, Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him unto his people. This is what they don't want to talk about. And this is why Netanyahu and the imposters over there in what they call, the state of Israel, they want to be Judah so bad. They want to be us so bad. They want to act as if it's meant for them to rule the world in righteousness. You can see how evil they are. Those people are not the true stewards. And I know it's hard for you to see that we even fit the description because we're at the tail, we're at the bottom. We're being afflicted, we're being trampled on. It appears as if there's no value in us. But you know the value and or the greatness of us because you see any and everything we do, everybody emulates it. All the creativity we have and how we're into the inventions, but we allow them to take it to build up this world of evil. Everything we do is to benefit them in their corruption. He says, and bring Judah to his people. Let his hands be sufficient for him, meaning we're going to have everything we need to rule, to govern in righteousness. I know you can't see it. I know you don't believe it, but it's okay. I'm going to stand on prophecy. I'll be the fool. He said, and be thou in help to him from his enemies. Who's the enemy? Most of y'all don't know. You can't find it, but I just told you. The European is the enemy because they're the one that's in control of the world today. They're the enemy of God. Although they walk around and parade and or say Christian nationalism and all this stuff, their God is not the God that I'm talking about. Their God is the God of evil and or wickedness, unrighteousness. They are at the hand or the right hand of Satan as it expressed deception, trickery, lies and thievery, a fraudulent theology, a fake Jesus. Nothing they have is real. Job 19 and 21. Have pity upon me. Have pity upon me. O ye my friends, for the hand of God have touched me. He said, why do you persecute me as God? This is us in the way we deal with each other. We continue to persecute each other and really haven't come to understand the condition and the place we're in. And this is why I'm here today to say, change. Change your mind before you're persecuted. I understand the mercy. I understand, what we're looking for in grace. And all I'm telling you before the true persecution come, deliver yourself, save yourself. And I'm giving you the understanding as to how you do it. It's not going into somebody's church and listening to a motivational speech or getting hyped up with the drums and jumping around and shaking and kicking and falling out. It's changing your mind. Using the words of righteousness, using the law, understanding what tenets within the principle you need to govern yourself. That's it. You have to hold yourself accountable, and then collectively we can hold each other accountable to the same standard and move away from these standards of unrighteousness that continue to afflict us. He said, why do you persecute me as God? He said, and are not satisfied with my flesh. Like there's nothing I can do. Anything I do, you're gonna find something wrong. You keep looking. You're never satisfied, but yet you ain't got yourself right. He said, oh, that my words are written, that they are printed in a book. We're going through it. He said they were graven with an iron pen with lead in a rock forever. See, some folks say, oh, that Bible, that ain't no good. The white man wrote it and They did this and they did that, and it's fictitious, it's a myth, and all this other stuff. Only thing that tells me you're not associated with the children of God. There are two people in this world, you all, a children of God and a children of the devil. Those are the only two people in this world. If there's more than that, then you'd have to put it out and show me where you got it from. But I'm telling you based on what's written. Inspired and or understood to be from the higher power. Based on law. He said it's written forever, meaning the principles don't change. Righteousness has not changed. Truth has not changed. What has changed is pragmatism. Making evil good and good evil. He said, for I know that my Redeemer live. Oh, this is getting ready to get deep. I know how much y'all love deep stuff. This right here is getting ready to get deep. Y'all pay attention. Thank you all for coming into the live. He said, for I know that my Redeemer live. Like, you can sit up and persecute me all you want. You can find all the fault with me that you want. I know my Redeemer live. And when I position myself, to righteousness, that's not for you to look at. That's for me to look at. You look at how you're positioning yourself for righteousness, but one thing is we must be held to the same principle within righteousness because it doesn't change. It's written down forever. The thing is, are you going to subject yourself to it, or do you think it's supposed to subject itself to you? Because that's how most of us think. We think principles are supposed to bend for us. And again, that's because we're addicted to our lust. We're addicted to a flawed life or concept of life. He said, I know my Redeemer liveth. And he says, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. Righteousness is going to stand in the earth. He says, and though after my skin worms destroy this body, y'all pay attention. Please pay attention. He says, this body, yet my flesh shall I see God. I'm going to say that again. Because some folks run around screaming, YOLO. You only live once. I'm going to show you what's written and stated to be forever. And how within this, he's talking about, I've been buried, but I'm going to live again to see my Redeemer on this earth. Two things just happened. I don't know if you missed it. Let me try it again for you. He says, I know that my Redeemer lives, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, he's not here no more. He says, yet in my flesh shall I see God. What just happened? And why haven't your institutions of theology and seminary schools and bishops and ministers, why haven't they explained this to you? All they're telling you is say Jesus, confess, sow a seed. God got a blessing with your name on it. None of this is helping you understand how to achieve immortality. But let me give this to you. I can't just put it out there and just leave you hanging. See, okay, here's the thing too. If this is your first time in this room, If this is your first time in this room, put a 2 in the chat. Like you've never heard me communicating before, just put a 2 in the chat, right? Because if you've been in this room before, you've heard me talking about the different types of flesh, not based on what I think, not based on what I feel. Okay, I got a lot of people that this is their first time in the room. Great. So I'll explain these things to you. And I'll also tell you, there's a link. You go to my page right here, right under where it says Saturday at 11 o'clock. You click that link and it'll take you to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel. There's a playlist also on the channel for Prophecy 2026. In there, all the videos centered around this series are there. And I've talked about these things and so many other things. Go there, watch the videos, share them with your family or friends. It's not like what the other pastors and preachers are talking about, but it's truly revealing what's in this book and what it's going to take in order for us to stand for salvation. But here, he says, yet in my flesh shall I see God. I'm going to show you 2 things here. One is centered around the regeneration. Catch the word, generation. It's a regeneration. So there are points when, as you say or have said, like, I've been here before, he's been here before. There's a point that we get to come back, but we don't remember a number of things. That's one point. The other part where he says, yet in my flesh shall I see God, in the sense of the transformation, when we're moved from the terrestrial flesh to the celestial flesh, where it said that's going to happen in the twinkling of the eye. So there are 2 things happening right here, because this is not my first time here. But there's also going to come a time, by the grace of God, that I'll receive the celestial flesh. Because as long as I'm here in this flesh, I'll never see God. Because it tells you this body, this flesh cannot inherit the kingdom of God. It's in decay. Every day we're declining. Can't see God like that. Our brains can't even hold all knowledge because we're in decay. But we're made to come back, that we can continue promoting that word of righteousness. And at the appointed time, should we make the cut, we'll receive the celestial body. Then we get to see God. Because now we're in the manifestation of what God is in righteousness. Now our minds can obtain all knowledge because we're in a state of pureness. We're in a state of immortality. Now we can uphold all knowledge and stand as God with God to rule in righteousness. This is what they don't want. Especially not for us. They're mad because it's not them. He said, and though after my skin worms destroy this body, he says, yet in my flesh shall I see God. Let me give you this, and then I'm gonna come back to Job. Let me give you this, because I talked about regeneration. And some folks will say, oh, that's the Old Testament. That's the Old Testament. You're talking about the Old Testament. Well, for those of you that's in the New, let me give it to you in the New Testament. Let me show you where Jesus is talking about it. The regeneration, the returning of souls. But it's on a lower level centered around the terrestrial flesh. Not in this verse, it doesn't talk about the change to the celestial flesh. But if you catch the Prophecy 2026 series, I explain it. It's there. You just have to take your time and methodically go through it, make your notes and build yourself up. I ain't trying to convert you to nothing but righteousness. And that's my aim. That's my goal. But Matthew 19:28. And Jesus said unto them, verily I say unto you, why haven't your bishops, your pastors, your teachers, why haven't they explained this to you within the religion, within their theology, and within their seminary schools? Because they all hold lies and deception, unbeknownst to you. Thank you all for coming into the live. He said, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration. What did you say? Verily I say unto you, that you which have followed me in the regeneration. That means we're coming back. As Job just said, although this body is destroyed, he's like, I got to come back. I won't remember that I was that Job. Like, I don't remember who and or what I was at that time, but I know I was in or at that time. Otherwise, I would not be able to be here to speak today. And it's not even important for me to know based on that time, because the time is now. He says, for those of you that have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory. Now, he didn't say sit on it. Big difference. The regeneration, to sit in the throne of his glory, that means the transformation. Because when we sit in the throne of glory, that's when God in the flesh is manifest and we stand in righteousness. As we come to understand, it dwells in us, but it won't be in this flesh. This flesh can't contain it. This flesh must fall to the ground. And like the phoenix, we have to reemerge anew, born again. You all have heard it, but you haven't put it within its right pretense. To know it's talking about the transformation from the terrestrial flesh to the celestial flesh. He said, but the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory. He says, ye also shall sit. It's going to be a governing body of those that have transformed from one state of flesh to another flesh, as to where Job was saying, I'm going to see God with my eyes. Not in this flesh, though. When we see God with our eyes, it'll be through the transformation to the celestial flesh, because this can't inherit the kingdom of heaven, nor can we see God in this state. He said, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel, meaning all of those that have been rebellious, they're going to get it. We're going to put it to them. Because no evil will be able to stand in the world when the rightful stewards come to put the world back on its right course. Job, going back to Job, 19:26. He says, and though after my skin worms destroy this body, he says, yet in my flesh shall I see God. He said, whom I shall see for myself. Now, I already told you, he lost one one flesh and he went into the ground. Now he's telling you he's going to see God for himself. And if you understand what's written based on the testimony and based on the law, we've not seen him or heard his voice under this condition. So what Job is talking about, he's saying, I'm making the transition. I'm of the soul that was with him before the foundation of the earth. I didn't choose God. God chose me. He says, I shall see. He says, I shall see for myself, talking about God. And my eyes shall behold and not another. How is that going to happen if he already went into the ground? He lost the body and, the worms covered him. Y'all, that theology, it's a bad theology. That indoctrination is corrupt within their religion because they don't talk to you about the standards of righteousness and how to achieve a celestial flesh. And how even in these writings, for those of you that like to get deep, it's in there. You either read over it, didn't understand it, didn't see it, but I promise you. Go to the link I told you. Go to the channel and get the playlist. Watch the series, Prophecy 2026. Take your time. Ain't no rush. Just take your time. When I say ain't no rush, I mean, once you make the commitment, don't stress yourself out with the rush. Once you make the commitment, you good. Because now you get to take it one day at a time. You just can't keep going back and forth. The last will be first. Make the commitment. Just make the commitment and you good. Study. As you learn, change. That's the only way it's going to happen. As you learn, change. You have to force yourself to make the change once you see and can identify your flaw. Only you can change you. No one knows you better than you. But it's the measure and or the system that we use to raise ourselves up. You have to be responsible for that. He says, for whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another. He says, though my reins consume within me, though my reins be consumed within me. It's going back to the point, we're not dealing with no more, lust and sin. All of that is consumed. It's done away with. We're now standing in the essence of our perfection with God as gods on earth. Oh, Lord. No, they don't want to talk about that. Especially if it looked like me. They said, no. They start singing the song, Hail to the No. But it is what it is. It's not them. Matthew 11 and 13. He said, for all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. I'm still giving you evidence that we go through regeneration. And they don't talk about it in your theology. They don't talk about it in your seminary schools. Your bishops and your pastors don't talk about it, but here it is. I'm reading it to you. And if you go to the site, you click the link that I told you, right under where it says Saturday, 11 o'clock on my page right here. Subscribe to that channel. Go to the playlist that says Prophecy 2026. All the videos will be there. All the videos on the page. It's just easier to get to them through the playlist. But here, still talking about regeneration, losing this body, but coming back in another body until we get to the point that we transform into the celestial flesh. Here it is. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. He says, and if ye will receive it, it is Elijah, which was for to come. He that have ear to hear, let him hear. That's what I'm saying. If you got an ear to hear, you need to understand what was just expressed. Elijah the prophet came back as John the Baptist. It's written right there in the New Testament. Although they'll try to tell you, no, that ain't what it is. But he just said, if you receive it, it was Elias. He came back. Like Job said. Although this flesh died, he said, I'll be back. Job 20:4. He said, know thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short. Coming back to my point, that although we see all this evil in the world, it's temporary. I can't tell you why the Lord Creator decided to take this route. I can only agree with it and come to understand, for whatever reason, it's just. I'm a part of the creation. I can only accept it. In the end, I'm here to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to even be a vessel that I can deliver this message. And like Job said, I'm to stand to see it with my own eyes, but I know in this flesh, I'll never see it. That doesn't say I have to wait until I lose my life in order to see God and to be in heaven and all that stuff. No, because it's going to be right here on earth. Earth is going to go through a transformation just like we're going to go through a transformation. And guess who else is going to go through a transformation? The wicked. But their transformation is going to be to perish. So prepare for the transformation. Their heaven is wickedness, destruction, depravity, decadence. That's not our heaven. We can't live in their world as we're losing our life every day, and they can't live in our world. A world of immortality and perfection. But let's go back to what Job said. Know thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumph of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. He said, though his excellency mount up to the heaven, it said, and his head reached the clouds. Like, you all are looking at America and what's happening today. Y'all think this is great. And they've convinced you that it's great. They've convinced you that it's way better than any civilization and people. And I mean, they just go on and on and on, pumping up the lies. So much that they have convinced themselves that they're unstoppable. But it says this wicked, short. This hypocrite, for a moment. It cannot be sustained, you all. They pumping themselves up. It continues in Isaiah 14:11. He says, thy pomp is brought down to the grave, meaning the wickedness is not going to last. All of what you think you are, and you all think this world is so great, it's coming down. He said, and the noise of thy vows All of these systems and institutions and all this stuff that you all think is so good. He said, and the noise of thy vows. He said, the worm is spread under thee, and the worm will cover thee. This stuff is going to be wiped off the face of the earth. Buried. He said, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Let me get into it for you. He said, son of the morning. Y'all pay attention. How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? Let me tell it to you. Lucifer, he's the light bringer, right? Some folks are so doggone confused, y'all. They've taken the son of righteousness and said, oh, the son of righteousness and Lucifer, they're the same people because of the light bringer. Because Lucifer means light bringer. People are so ignorant. And I'm telling you, we're confronted with the great war of ignorance. But let me explain it to you. Lucifer is the light bringer, but that light, that son of the morning, that knowledge is in wickedness. And if you followed me and you've been here before, I've talked about distinguishing the difference between the knowledge of wickedness and the knowledge of righteousness. Two different sets of knowledge. So you got one that's teaching within the standards of corruption and wickedness, also called pragmatism. And you have another that teaches within the standards of righteousness. Two different concepts, two different standards, not the same. So I said, oh, Lucifer, son of the morning, art thou cut down to the ground, meaning the wickedness is not going, this world in corruption, it's not going to be sustained. But it is the thing that has destroyed all nations. He said, for thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend unto heaven, meaning I'm going to rule this, I'm going to run this. I'm going to be the standard. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I'm going to take the pretense of wickedness and I'm going to make it appear to be better than what righteousness is. The people won't be able to tell the difference. He said, I will also sit upon the mount of the congregation, meaning I'm going to rule God's people. And have them to believe I got something for them in righteousness. But remember, he said, this is the one that weakened all nations, the Lucifer, son of the morning. We ain't talking about nothing with a red suit and arrow pointed tail and whatever your imagination has created, because I told you, they infiltrated our mind. They gave us our gods, our monsters, and our aliens. None of it is real. He said, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. That's where they are today. They think they're so great. They think they're so mighty. He says, I will be like the Most High. This is what's written. This is where they are today. They're playing God. That's where they gave you the image of white Jesus. That's their God. It's not real. It never existed. Some folks say, oh, you're bringing color into it and his color doesn't matter. Well, what does matter is they sought to be like the Most High God and they created an image. And they promoted it around the world. Hell, if you go to Brazil right now, there's a big old statue of white Jesus with his arms hanging out. It's not real. It never existed. But that is them portraying to be like the Most High God. or the Most High when they are not the true stewards of the earth. If there was anything to be of the Most High, we would be to the closest resemblance of it, because it is our position to rule the earth in righteousness. But they said, no, we're going to keep you oppressed and afflicted for as long as we can. And this is why I'm pleading with you all, before the pleading of righteousness do come into position and or play. And I'm saying, change your mind. Seek righteousness. Convert your standing to be upright. Not a Christian. Not within Catholicism and Judaism and all this crap that they've made up to keep the confusion going. He says, I will be like the Most High. He says, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the side of the pits. He said, and they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee. Because we used to look in awe. As today, you all think this is like really going on. He said, but they shall be narrowly looked upon. And consider thee, saying, is this the man, going back to who Lucifer is, the light bringer, the morning star? It's a man. What man is it today, you all? Who is the Lucifer of today? What nation of people represent the Lucifer of today, in control of all the information and knowledge? In their wickedness, in their corruption. Who is it? Y'all afraid to say it? You afraid to see it? Because it will disrupt your convenience? Is this the man? It's these European leaders, these European nations. It's America. It's your Donald Trump. It's your Netanyahu. It's the European Union. It's the United Nations. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble? The one who is the less of all the heathens? The European? I know y'all hate it when they come out like that because they've ruined your mind. But we have to deal with it for what it is. Truth. It said truth will make you free. But for a number of you, you don't want to deal with the truth. You want to keep relishing within the pragmatism. All the lies, the evil to be good and the good to be evil. But truth, you hate it. And then you hate me for expressing truth. In observation, knowing the Lucifer of this day, the man in control of all the corruption, it's the European. That's the man. He steals everything, even your heritage, running around calling himself a Jew. He an Indian. He whatever he need to be to steal whatever resource he need. Tell whatever lie he need to tell. That made the earth tremble, that did shake kingdoms. Remember, he said he did weaken the nations. He did shake kingdoms. Obadiah 1 and 4. Y'all follow me? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars. This is them in all of their arrogance. He said, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. I'm telling you, the evil is only for a moment. what's happening cannot be sustained. God is not going to bless America, although they've just celebrated the 250 years for us, which is oppression. They're not going to make 300 years. Job 20 and number 7, you all. He says, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. Evil is going to perish. That man, he's going to perish like his own dung. I know y'all hate me reading it because your bishops, your pastors, and your ministers, they overlook these verses. And if you've ever read them, you just didn't put them to the intention of what today is, what's happening, and who it applies to, because you don't want to see any fault in the enemy. And it hurts that we're going to pull out and identify him as the enemy, but he has no problem saying that we're a threat and or that we're the enemy. And y'all seem to think that's cool, that's okay. I just showed you, they're on record. We're the number one threat to this country and these people. The Muslims are the number 2 threat. But he said they should perish forever like their own dung. He said, they which have seen him shall say, where is he? No more evil in the world, you all. We're transitioning, we're moving into a world of righteousness. That's the transition that's coming. That's the change that's coming. You either going to be in line with it or you're going to be destroyed by it. Isaiah 60 and 1, he says, arise, shine, thy light is come, meaning the transition is here. Righteousness is ready. The world is going through its change. He said, the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. The fame of the Lord is here. His majesty is in front of us. Look at Deuteronomy 28 and 64. He said, for the Lord scattered thee among all people. Because we go through it. But the point in time is going to come when we'll get to rise and we'll get to see that fame. We'll get to be of that fame. We'll get to be in that government. He said, but the Lord shall scatter thee among the people from one end of the earth even unto the other. He said, and there thou shalt serve other gods. This is what I'm saying. This whole thing with Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, all this stuff. This is not the God of righteousness. Their theology, their seminary schools, their God is the God of this world serving wickedness. And they make you feel good in your lust. And they give you everything you need to continue. In fact, it's on demand. How much do you want? They make sure you're well fed in unrighteousness, with wickedness. And because you're addicted, you're okay. You're just looking for the next fix. He said, and serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, meaning we dealt in righteousness. We were standing upon the law, which they have now said, it's over with, it's done. In the name of Jesus. And what's sad is, if you're reading what I read, the one that you identify as Jesus functioned from nothing but the law. And then he left an example for you to follow that you would break the law no more. In other words, sin no more. But they ignored that part right there. And this is why I say they're white Jesus and they're God. It ain't got nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with what's coming. In righteousness, right? He said you should serve other gods. Our fathers knew nothing about this Christianity, this Catholicism, this Judaism, and all this stuff that's going on in the world today. That, in our sense, within our heritage, these were not the standards. Hey, if you're not this people, don't get offended. I'm not talking to you. But for those who your spirit bear witness and this resonates to you, just keep listening. Faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God, not a motivational speech on Sunday. He said, our fathers didn't know these gods. He said, but we will serve these gods. And that's what I'm telling you. Your God is what you serve. You're serving in righteousness or you're serving in wickedness. That's your God. He said, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Folks love to have things in their hand and think, these will help them get closer to God, something, whatever it may be. The only way we get close to God is according to living in righteousness. That's it. You don't need no other icon or no other thing to hold, and there's no cross that you're going to have in your hand or no magic rock, or there's nothing to kiss and none of that. All of that stuff is made up by men. Those are traditions of men. He said, and among these nations shall you find no ease. Come on, y'all. We have no ease in America. And wherever else we are as a people, because we're the most hated people in the world. He said, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. Who is that talking about? As I told you before, when it comes to the prescription of evil, we're able to say, who fits the description? When it comes to this having no ease and the sole of thy foot having no rest, who fits the description? Somebody in all of their corruption and wickedness wants to say, oh, anybody, everybody. Whatever, man. I can tell you about my life and my people that have been over here and that have suffered for at least 250 years, that we've been oppressed. Oh, this definitely fits us beyond a shadow of a doubt, although they've allowed some to rise to the stature of a millionaire or a billionaire to be totally handled and or controlled. We're living in a society of crumb snatchers. It's just whose crumb is bigger than the next. But don't forget, they run this wickedness. He says, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. He said, but the Lord shall give thee a trembling heart and failing eyes and sorrow of mind. A trembling heart goes back to what I was talking about. How our people are hunted in the streets. To this day, we're found lynched and said it's a suicide. You go out with your European friends and you might not come back home. A trembling heart. A boy go into a store. They say he took a bottle of water, and for that, they take his life. Failing eyes. Nobody's coming to help us. And by right, we have to understand what it means to help ourselves by changing our mind. You might want to blame it on God or blame it on this or blame it on that. First, blame it on yourself for accepting the corruption, the wickedness, the evil. Now accept the fact that you can't do it no more, or you don't want to do it no more. Commit to change. He said, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee. You all know, with some of you, even the mothers, you're afraid for your son or your daughter to go out. Even some of you are afraid. Every time you go out, your head on a swivel. He said, thou shalt fear day and night. Some of you try to act like you ain't afraid of nothing. But let them blue lights get behind you and watch how fast your heart pump. And shall have none assurance of thy life. Why? Why are we so vulnerable? As they call us, even within the sense of social welfare, a vulnerable people. At-risk community. Does this not fit the standard of what's written within prophecy to let you know who we are and who it is talking about? The road for correction for us to find strength, because we've been weakened by this state of mind. We must change our position within our mind. Don't change the church you go to. Change your thought process. Change the reliance of information that you're living off of based on the moral and standard that you're going by. Isaiah 60:2. He said, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth. And that's what we're dealing with right now as we are in fear for our family, for our loved ones, the state of our existence. Darkness has covered the earth. Now, when we're in rule and it's for righteousness, they say we're the evil, medieval, and the dark age. But this right here is telling us the darkness is them. But psychologically, they try to put it on us and tried to write it in history that way. And when they came into position, it was the Renaissance. Now, don't get it twisted. During that time, we still were some corrupt people. We hadn't yet achieved our true standard in righteousness, but it just goes to show they are a perpetual enemy to our heritage, to our forefathers. A perpetual enemy. I'm not making it up. This is how it's been written for us to understand. If you can't go by this, then what are you going to go by? You want to make something up just because you don't like what's written in truth? That's your problem. He said, darkness shall cover the earth and gross darkness the people. That's where we are right now, gross darkness. Meaning addicted to wickedness. He said, but the Lord shall rise upon thee. We have a way out. We can be cleaned up with the washing of the water of the word. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. We can stand in righteousness. Some people, they can't stand it. We get to change. They can't change because it's not in their DNA. He said, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Some people are going to transition into the celestial flesh. Then the fame of a God will be seen on thee. Right now, all we see is wickedness. Obadiah 1:18. Because I'm telling you, Some folks aren't going to make the change, can't make it. It's not in their DNA. And they're going to perish. This evil and the hypocrites, it's all for a short time. It can't be sustained. Obadiah 1:18, he says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. Who is Esau? Who is Jacob? Who is Joseph? It's like, we don't use none of these names no more. You have all these misnomers out there, but that's what the man of deception does. Keeps the confusion going. We don't go by those titles anymore, but trust and believe the people still exist. But nevertheless, you can change your name and you can hide yourself all you want. You're not going to escape the eyes of the Almighty. That's just what it is. You won't get away from prophecy. You will not supersede what's already written within the law. You have met your end, Esau. You can call yourself whatever you want. He said, the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. See, the leaders of the world right now, these Europeans, they don't want to be Esau. But this says they will be devoured in putting out the gross darkness. He said, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. Those that have brought this corruption into the world, they're going to be eradicated. How are you going to try and have love for evil? Only if you are evil. For the Lord have spoken it. Job 20:8, he says, he shall fly away as a dream. Y'all think they're going to be around forever. They think they're going to be around forever, but it says they're going to be brought to the ground. Thank you all for coming into the live. Y'all tap the screen. That part doesn't cost anything. That's how you show your support for the live. Y'all share the live, repost the live, right? He said, they shall fly away as a dream. Why your bishop don't read this to you? Why they don't have this conversation with you when you go to church on Sunday? Your pastor. Because it doesn't fit their theology. It doesn't fit the deception necessary to keep the Europeans in power. He shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. No more wickedness, no more corruption. Y'all cool with that? He shall be chased away as a night vision. The eye also which saw him shall see him no more. This is not my will or my choice, but to then be empowered to live according to the will. What has to be done has to be done. Neither shall his place be any more. Behold him. They're not going to continue to rule the world. God is not going to bless America, and they're not going to see another 50 years. Jeremiah 30:11, he says, for I am with thee. He's talking about those of the righteous, not the wicked. To save thee, because we're in the house of the wicked and we need to come out of it. We need to change our mind. We need to change our way of being. That's the only thing that's going to save us. Not confessing with your mouth that you believe in Jesus. And in the blood of Jesus, you covered in all of the superstition that they've given us within the religions. to save thee. Though I make a full end of all the nations where I've scattered thee, meaning they will not be in power. The wicked rulers must come down. It's going to make a full end of them so that righteousness can prevail. Somebody has to lead it. This is what he's saying. I'm going to save you. I oppressed you. I had you afflicted. I used them to get you to see what pure evil is so that you'll never want to go down that road again. When I put you back on your feet, you're going to be a stickler for righteousness. He said, yet I will not make a full end of thee. I'm going to make a full end of all the other nations, but you, I'm not going to make a full end of you. I'm going to raise you up. He says, but I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished, because we've been judged, or we're dealing with the judgment. Job 20:10. He said, his children shall seek to please the poor. Ooh, watch it. Watch this. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hands shall restore their goods. This is what I told you. Y'all stop asking for reparations, but I know you won't. Because we can ready to get the whole world back. And the way we do that, we have to change our mind, because you can get their money and stay in corruption and they stay in rule. I don't want that. Get them out of power. Get them out of the seat. He says, his children shall seek to please the poor. All these people now that's leading and ruling, their children are going to serve those who you consider and don't see as being the poor. First of all, in mind. But when he says, I'm here to save you and I'm going to raise you up and I'm going to make a full end of them, but not a full end of you, their children are going to seek to please the poor. And then he says, and his hands shall restore their goods. Everything they stole, they're going to restore all of it. Oh, it's not done. It's not done. Listen. He said, his bones are full of sin in his youth, what goes to, let me explain it to you, because again, this is allegory, this is parable. And the church has failed you to give you the understanding. Their theology is warped. Their seminary schools, they're no good. His bones are full of sin from his youth. It's in their DNA, their forefathers. And they try to separate themselves from it and say, but that was so long ago, they ain't have nothing to do with me. It's in their bones. As he said, they are a perpetual enemy. They have a perpetual hatred. It's in their bones. They can't separate themselves from it, although they try to say that ain't have nothing to do with me. But yet, I'm here and I'm suffering. Looking at what my people have done, it didn't exclude me. But I'm okay with it because I understand what the end is. And how my greatness comes first within me doing the work to change my mind. But here, because it ain't done, they're going to restore everything that they took. Let them keep their reparations because we're regaining the world. He said his bones are full of sin of his youth. He said, which shall lie down with him in the dust. They can't change their nature, their way of being. When they are destroyed, they're going to take it to the grave. He said, though wickedness is sweet in his mouth, meaning this world that they've created, to them, it's a beautiful thing. They're on top. They feel invincible. but it's only for that moment, as we've been told. And as we see, beyond what we've been told, we see because what they're doing and the way they're running the earth into the ground is not sustainable. He said, though wickedness is sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, trying to make you feel as if he's working with God and he's going to bring peace on earth, the man only knows mischief. He said, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth. Two things. He tries to hide it. And the second thing is we have to stop his mouth. Ecclesiasticus number 12 and number 10, you all, as we're talking about this enemy, this perpetual hatred, and how some of you want to think they can change, and how it said it's in his bones and he's going to carry it to his grave. It's perpetual. Throughout his lineage, it's in his DNA. You can't change that. As much as some of you would like to have change it for him, it can't be done. Look at this. See, this is wisdom. Listen to it. Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy. First of all, you got to identify who the enemy is. But he said, never trust your enemy. He said, for like iron rust, so is his wickedness. You know how iron will rust and you can kind of wipe it off, but that doggone rust will come back? It's in their bones. They're not going to change. They can't change. Let's look at Job 20 and 12. He said, though wickedness be sweet, just going back to that, though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it not and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth. I'm almost there, y'all. Almost done. I see I'm close to my time. I thank you all for coming, hanging out with me. I'm trying to move as quick as I can to get, this information out. It's so necessary. I ain't done yet. I'm still looking to focus on that empty soul, that life without a true purpose, and asking how much vanity can you take? How much is enough? It's time for us to change the trajectory of our life, identifying what fuel, what resource, what do we need to move ourselves out of a corrupt state of mind and stop dealing with a debased people who will never change. All they do is lie. Their rulership is to destruction. You see it. Revelations 18:23, he says, and the light of the candle shall shine no more in thee. In this world with all of the darkness, there's no light for the candle. Here I am trying to bring it. And because there's so much darkness and or the gross darkness, it's hard for a lot of people to get it. But those of you that do get it, that's who it's meant for. That's the beautiful thing about this vibration, about this message. What it means to stand with the Son of God, what it means to be saved, how you have to do a work within righteousness to be as the Son of God, to deal with the inheritance, to be an heir, to rule the world in righteousness, to gain the transformation into a celestial flesh, to be a part and or a body of a government that's centered around righteousness? Or do you want to keep voting for democracy and being a part of a body of government that's centered around wickedness? You decide. He says, and the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. That's the struggle right now. The voice of the bride and the bridegroom, allegory, parable. This is talking about righteousness and the people of righteousness, the true stewards for the earth. How we're struggling in this world of chaos and corruption. Can't be heard, can't be seen. He said, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth. And all of this wickedness, their merchants are the great men of this earth. You know, the families that rule governments and create systems. He said, for by thy sorcery were all nations deceived. Y'all know the rituals they do. Got a number of y'all talking about a CERN machine and all these other things. That's a part of their sorcery to deceive all the nations. Who is that? Who is this enemy? Don't be afraid to say it. Don't be afraid to understand it. Don't be afraid to acknowledge it. Truth will make you free. Not trying to create a truth, but understanding what prophecy is and what the law is, standing on that will make you free. Right? He says, surely the owls shall wait for me. Remember when I told y'all to stick a pin in it when he was talking about they will be delivered from the islands? This is the part that I was talking about. He said, surely the owls shall wait for me, meaning his people are scattered everywhere, even in the islands. He said, wait for me, just wait for me, because I already told you they're going to give it all back. I already told you they can't sustain it. And everything they took, I'm going to make them give it back. Listen to the prophecy. See what they're not going to tell you in their theology, in their seminary schools. This is what their bishops and their ministers are not going to preach, the truth. He says, Isaiah 60:9, surely the owls shall wait for me, meaning my people that have been scattered in those islands, wait for me. He said, for the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far, meaning those people, as he said, their children will serve the poor. They're going to bring the ships from far. They're going to bring all the silver and all the gold, all the stuff that they took. They're going to be made to return it. Everything that's in the Vatican and all the treasures and all these places where they've hid all this stuff, they're going to have to give it up. It's coming back. Everything. And their gold with them. Unto the name of the Lord thy God. They're bringing it all back to us in the name of righteousness. See, it don't make sense. They apologize. Oh, we're sorry for slavery. We're sorry for this. But they don't return nothing. It's a vain apology. Y'all should be sick of it. Unto the name of the Lord thy God and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee, as he said to them in the owl. Just wait for me, because I'm going to make them give it all back to you. I'm going to make their children serve you and return everything that they've stolen. He said they're going to restore it. Or they're not going to do it on their own. They're going to be forced to do it. He says, and the sons of the strangers shall build up thy walls. I didn't say it. I'm telling you, what your bishops and your pastors won't tell you, but it's written. When Jesus returns, he's going to make the Gentiles give everything back that they stole. And he's going to take the strangers of those sons, those children, the people who say, I ain't got nothing to do with it. They're going to be responsible for building up the walls. Because it's in their bones. It's in their DNA, who they are, where they come from. I didn't do it. I'm just explaining what's going to transpire in the world of righteousness and why a number of you hate it. He said, and their king shall minister unto thee, meaning all of these people that you see as being mighty and this and that and the other, they're going to serve in righteousness. They're going to serve us in righteousness as they turn everything back over. He says, for in my wrath I smote thee, and this is what I'm saying. We've suffered because we rebelled against our own heritage. He said, in my wrath I smote thee. He said, but in my favor, see, we have favor. Well, we're not the only ones. We're just at the forefront of the leadership part. And this is what makes us of the most hated people in the world. He said, but in my favor, I have mercy on thee. He said, therefore the gates shall be open continually, meaning all that they stole, the gates are going to be open continually, and they're going to continue to bring it in. Their sons and their daughters are going to rebuild the world of righteousness, and we'll be in control. He said, they shall not shed day or night, that men shall bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. And their kings may be brought to thee. They are not in power no more. He says, for the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish, because some of them say, I ain't going to do nothing. I ain't bring nothing. He said they're going to perish. Some of y'all say that's so mean. That's the Old Testament. Well, in the New Testament, Jesus, the one who y'all say got love for everybody, he said, look, bring them before me. Those that are not going to serve within righteousness, he said, bring them before me and slay them. Oh, but your bishop, they ain't read that part to you in Christianity, in your church. While they're trying to tell you, oh, he's just going to love on everybody and it's going to be hugs and kisses. That's not what he said. He said, if these Gentiles, if these heathens aren't going to build up the walls, if they're not going to return everything that they stole, if they're saying they're not going to serve, he said, bring them to me, to my feet, and slay them before me. That's what's written. He said, for that nation and kingdom that will not serve thee, if you don't want to serve us in righteousness, what's wrong with you? You rather continue serving in corruption and wickedness? He said, you're going to perish. He said, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Almost there. He said, he have swallowed down the riches. Pay attention, because I'm telling you, to hell with the reparations. We're going to get the world back. All we have to do is change our disposition within our mind to righteousness, understanding what the elements and or the standards are. Come back to our heritage. He said, he have swallowed down the riches. Listen at it. He shall vomit them up again. Oh, he gonna give it all back. Oh, I know he hate it. He said, God shall cast them out of his belly. Oh, we know we're talking about the allegory and in the parable. I'm just trying to let you know. You ain't got to beg them for reparations, y'all. We're getting ready to get all of it back. But before we do, we have to change our mind. That's the requisite. If you want it, change your mind. Become that better person. Live for righteousness, that we can gain the world. He said, he sucked the poison of asps. The viper, He said, he sucked the poison of asp. The viper's tongue shall slay him, meaning these people have lived according to unrighteousness and wickedness, and for that reason, they're going to perish. He said, he should not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of the honey and butter. He's not going to be in the kingdom. He said, that which he labored for shall he restore. Restore. All the things that he been around this world and took and conquered and did this, he's going to restore all of it. He said, and shall not swallow it down. He said, according to his substance shall the restitution be. And he shall not rejoice in them, meaning all of what he called himself holding on to and having, he's going to have to give it back, and he's not going to have the enjoyment of it anymore. It's going to be returned back to the righteous. In Isaiah 14, he says, and they shall be taken captive whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Your bishop, your Christianity, your pastors, they don't tell you this. This is what Jesus is talking about and or coming to do. And raising a people up out of oppression. For those that have put us there, he says, those who have taken us captive, these are the ones that are going to be captive. And it's going to be our position to rule over our oppressors, but in righteousness. Are you all okay with that? Coming to the end. Wisdom of Solomon, 10 and 3. He said, but when the unrighteous went away from her in his anger, we went away. They live in it. He said, he perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother. So the concept of murder is two things, two ways. When you have hate and anger for your brother, that's a form of murder. That's you being unrighteous or stepping away from righteousness. And the other one is to actually take someone's life. These are unrighteous acts, right? Now, we've already made it clear, though, the righteous act or the evil thing upon the unrighteous is necessary to rid the evil. Only to the standard of righteousness and only under the order of prophecy and or law. Not just because. A higher standard and or way of thinking being doing. Some may not understand it, but that's just what it's going to be. Revelation 13 and 10, it says, he that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. Lord, they don't want to talk about that in your church. Because these Christian nationalists, they're going into captivity. These European nations, they're going into captivity. It already said their kings and their ships and their modes of transportation, they're going to restore everything that they stole. He said, he that killed with the sword must be killed with the sword. If you're going to refuse to return to righteousness, he said, you're going to perish. He said, here is the patience and the faith of the saints, meaning we have to understand prophecy. We have to trust in the law. If, according to Isaiah 8 and 20, if you don't deal with the testimony being the prophecy and the law, he said, ain't no light in you. So to have patience, because some folks will try to convince you that, oh man, y'all been talking about that for ages and generations. Ain't no world of righteousness coming. These folks are ruling, they do what they want to do and blah, 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 blah. Don't y'all listen to the philosophy and the vain deceit. You better stand on principle. Deuteronomy 28:1, he said, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, not all of the European commandments, not all of the policies and procedures according to democracy and the standards of this world. He said, to observe and to do all of his commandments, which I command thee this day. He said, the Lord thy God shall set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Didn't say equality. It didn't say what the Declaration of Independence said. All men are created equal. He said you're going to be set on high above all nations on the earth. That means the earth will be governed by a people with a standard of law and or commandments in righteousness. Everybody else must live according to that. No different than today. Everybody lives according to the standards of wickedness. What's wrong with you? You don't want righteousness? What, you mad because it'll be someone that look like me in that position and or place? For that reason, you don't want nothing to deal with it? Then that's on you. Isaiah 126. He says, and I will restore thy judges as at the first. Y'all pay attention. Because all we ever talk about is the fall of man. And we go on and on and on about the fall of man. We never come to understand what it was like before the fall of man. But here he's saying we're going to be restored as it was in the first, meaning before the fall of man. Our judges, that means righteousness will be back in the earth again. He said, and thy counselors as at the beginning, that was before the fall of man, in righteousness. He said, afterward, thou shalt be called the city of righteousness. So we'll be able to clearly distinguish for that which is wickedness. And these cities that we live in, this world that we live in today, this world that we live in today, that's centered around wickedness. The power blinking out. Y'all still with me?
No. The internet has to restart the router.
Okay.
Well, that's where you stop at. Oh, there you're back.
Y'all still with me?
Well, that's where you stop at.
All right. We still in there. We're almost at the end too. But he said, afterward, that should be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Thank you all for hanging in there. He says, Zion shall be redeemed with judgment. Within this excellence, we're going to be redeemed with judgment. He says, her converts with righteousness. Now, when it talks about these converts, it's not talking about the Christianity. The converts is looking at how we've changed our mind to righteousness or with righteousness. He says, and the destruction of the transgressor and of the sinner shall be together. I'm telling you, the standard and or the way of righteousness is not going, the standard and or the way of unrighteousness is not going to continue. Right? He said, and they that forsake the Lord shall be consumed. Those of you who do not want righteousness, you will be consumed. You will perish. It's just as simple as that. I don't care how much you confess with your mouth that you believe in Jesus. If you're not doing the work centered around righteousness and positioning your mind to live according to the standard, as he said, you do these commandments that I'm giving you, this is what I'm going to do to put you on high. Okay? 29, he says, and we're coming to the end, these last few verses. 29, he says, for they shall be ashamed of the oak which ye have desired. Now, the oak is the allegory or tied within the parable to be like the people, the nation. As for a number of us, we desire these these white folks, right? And everything they do. He said, and ye shall be confounded for the gardens that you have chosen. The gardens, looking at these things that have been built around this world and or created. You're going to be confounded with all of this stuff that we've created and we've thought is so good and so great. Number 30, he says, for ye shall be as an oak whose leaf has faded, meaning this is a people who is vain or who is born in vain. Since you're going to follow after them, you're going to be just like them, dead. He said, and the garden that have no water. All these things that you've built that you think are so good, they're going to be of no use in a world of righteousness. He said, and the strong shall be in tow. And the maker, he said, and the maker of it as a spark. That's what he's talking about. At this point, all of them that are tied to the corruption, they're going to go together. He says, and they shall both burn together, and none shall quench them. And my last verse for today, Jeremiah 23:6, he says, in his day, Judah shall be saved. Look, this is what the Lord our God wants. In his day, Judah shall be saved. Okay? In his day, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. Y'all pay attention. He didn't say the whole world. He has a particular people in mind, and some of you are mad because it doesn't fit the corrupt theology that they've put out in the world to deceive the whole world. That in his plan, he has a particular people set to rule the world in righteousness, and a number of you are mad because it's not the European, who can only rule within destruction, loss of life, decadence. It's obvious. He said, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name, whereby he shall be called the Lord our righteous. That's all we've been talking about. The Lord our righteousness. That's going to be the name. Understanding within allegory what that means. Because some of y'all are lost within trying to say you know the name is in a Yahweh or Jesus or Yahweh or Yahshua. It's like, okay, whatever, dude. But this is telling us his name is the word of God. And he's going to be called the Lord our righteousness, which basically means be focused on the standard that we must govern the world by. Be focused on what righteousness is, because all we have ever known is wickedness. That's all we've ever known. is wickedness. So I want to thank you all for coming to my discussion centered around the empty soul, a life without true purpose, and asking that question, how much vanity can you take? Before you say enough is enough and you make the decision to live your life no more in wickedness, but to turn to what righteousness is. So I told you all, there's a link on my page. You go where it says Saturday, 11 o'clock, right under that, click that link. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe. There, this video will be posted. If you missed anything, you can get it all. Also, the series for Prophecy 2026. This is one of the videos that will go in the playlist for Prophecy 2026. You can hear the other videos that are there. Use it to help build yourself up, to get an understanding as to what's written, and how you can align yourself with prophecy and the law and righteousness. Not according to anyone's religion, theology, and Catholicism and Judaism, but understanding only you know you, and you are responsible to, as it said, deliver yourself and or to save yourself, and then to be able to identify what's necessary in order to do that. So I've taken enough of your time, and I appreciate you, you all for coming into the live and sharing this time with me today. All right. Most High willing, I'll be back on the next Sabbath to continue this discussion within Prophecy 2026. And again, one more time, go to the page right at the top under where it says Saturday, 11 a.m. Click that link. That'll take you to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel there. You can find the playlist that say Prophecy 2026. All the other videos are there. This video, once it's finished rendering, I'll put it up on the page. All right? Shalom, everybody. Until the next time, you all be safe. I appreciate you. Stay away from the wicked. That's the one thing. Stay away from the wicked. Find righteousness. Shalom.